Hello everyone and welcome to something completely different. As you may know, I usually just record Let's Plays, but with the renewed interest in Imperator Rome, I thought I'd make a short video offering some advice to any new empire builder out there. So this is just going to be a few different things in the game which might not be obvious to a new player. If you do find the video useful and you would like me to go through something else in more depth, just post a comment and I will see what I can do. So, let's start. So the first thing I thought we'd talk about is religion. As you probably know, each nation in the game will always have one main religion. The specific deities in your pantheon though might be from a variety of different religions depending on which territories you own or whether you have pops that belong to that religion or not. To show you what I mean, I've just started the game as Egypt, or if you want to call it the Ptolemaic Kingdom. And as you can see here, we are a nation. So you can see here, we are a nation which is Hellenic as our official religion. However, if we do look at the pantheon here, we can see that we have two Hellenic deities, Alexandros here and Helios. But we also have two Kemetic deities, so we have Hathor here and Isis. Now, generally speaking, you want to avoid having deities from other faiths in your pantheon. If you are a seasoned Imperator Rome player, you probably already know this, but if you are new to the game, this is not immediately obvious. As we can see here, we get plus 8% happiness bonus, or 4% per deity, which seems pretty good, so we have 8% for the Kemetic pops and 8% for the Hellenic pops. And especially since we can see that we only have 115 Hellenic pops and 1524 Kemetic pops, this might seem like a sensible thing to do to keep them happy. The problem is that for every mismatched deity you have in your pantheon, so ones that belong to a different faith than your official one, you take a penalty when it comes to converting people to your official faith. Pops will only convert to the official faith, and by including deities from a different faith, you simply prolong the time it takes them to convert. So if we go and have a look at some random pop here, hopefully we can find one relatively simple. Yes, here you can see this slave is currently, it is Kemetic, but it is going to convert to Hellenic. And as we can see, we take a 40% penalty here because we have two mismatched deities, which gives minus 20% each, so it's minus 40% in total. And the problem then is that A, it takes longer for them to convert, and B, when they have converted, they're not going to be as happy as they would be if you had had only Hellenic deities in your pantheon. Now, I'm not saying that you never want to include any deities from different faiths, but as a general rule, you want to try and get rid of them when it is convenient. So, while we're on the subject of religion, I thought we'd have a quick discussion regarding holy sites as well. Now, holy sites in general are a handy way to just buff up your high-producing provinces as is. So if we have a look at, well, we just have a look here. If we were to create a holy site here, it would A, increase the deities modifiers by 25%, but also give some local tax and city building slots, etc., for the specific province that the holy site is in. Now, what I wanted to discuss though is something which isn't entirely obvious regarding the treasures you can put inside of a holy site. So if we go to the religion tab, you can see that you can add treasures here, which is all fine and dandy, all good. You can only do it for the pantheon deities you have and you also control the holy site for. Now the thing is that holy sites or the treasures within will continue to give bonuses even if they're no longer part of your pantheon or even no longer part of your religious group or religion as such. So if we have a look at, we'll just find a random one, Ptah here. Ptah is not part of our holy site here. We do already have a treasure here. It is the Crown of Egypt, which produces additional food. So if we have a look here at the food production, you can see that we have 10% extra because we have the Hem Crown of Egypt. And this is not just because we have population that is Kemetic or because we have Kemetic in our pantheon. As long as the treasures are there, you no longer need to have any form of association with the religion. You'll still keep the benefits from it. This can also allow you to stack multiple treasures within the same province. If you, for instance, have a temple already, or a holy site rather, and then you deify it, so you basically replace the pantheon deity with, one of your ancestors, you can basically create a new holy site for them and add even more treasures to the same territory. Right, so after discussing some of the more spiritual things in the game, I thought we'd move on to the more worldly things, namely war. As in most Paradox games and probably most strategy games, you'll spend a lot of time being at war with your former friends and neighbors. Now, some people do prefer to play tall, and you absolutely can play tall, but most people do prefer to play wide, and in which case you will need to be warring and expanding quite a lot. Now, the main problem with expanding is that eventually your stability is going to drop too low for you to actually be able to declare war. The higher aggressive expansion goes, the more of an impact it's going to have on your stability, and once you hit below 20 stability, you can no longer declare war. Now, there are some ways to get around that, and one of the ones is through the use of threaten war. So you can threaten war even though you have dropped below 20 stability, and as long as they don't accept your threat, you will automatically be at war with them, and you can do your normal conquering there. Now, there is a caveat in that you need to be at least a regional power, so we are a regional power here with Macedon, and hopefully we can be able to demonstrate it relatively easy. So we just need to get a claim on one of our neighbors, so we'll just grab a war council here, Ptolemaic. Sure. That seems fine. We'll get a claim on Egypt, and we do need to move on to the next month, because you can't declare war on the first month, so yeah, we don't care about any of these things. So now, as you can see, we can declare war for them over here. What we can do though is we're just going to drop our stability to demonstrate, so we'll just swap out some religious deities here. You swap you out as well. Can I not click OK? Okay, that seems to be a bug. We can apparently do that multiple times without, suffering multiple stability hits. In any case, we are down to 5 stability here. As you can see, we can no longer declare war. What we can do though is go in and threaten war here. So let's do for a threat here. He will not accept. We click OK. And gloriously, we are now at war. Fantastic. So you can continue to expand even though your stability is low. The other option to keep your stability high though, in the easy way out, is simply to go in here into religious innovations and grab militant Epicureanism. This allows you to desecrate temple to just give you 10 stability straight away. That does of course, prevent you from keeping treasures all over your nation, so I personally don't like it, but it is probably more efficient and the easier way to do things. So, as you start conquering all of your neighbors and pillaging their land, eventually you're going to start accruing some aggressive expansion. And aggressive expansion, as you know, is highly detrimental to your stability. So, as you know, if you haven't got high enough stability, you can't declare war. Now, you can get around it, as mentioned previously, with threatening war. But if the potential opponent is just going to give you the land regardless, you can't go for threatening war either. So stability you do want to keep up. It is also, keeping your realm stable. Now, one of the key things to actually keep aggressive expansion down is through tyranny. So tyranny is a bit of a double-edged sword. It does have some negative impacts, but the main bonuses of it is that it will increase the rate at which your aggressive expansion goes down, and it will also increase your slave output. So if you for some reason, now the easiest way to get more tyranny is to simply spam this glorious button here in religion called Invoke Devotio. Now, to be able to do this, you need to have some war exhaustion. That's usually not a problem, because if you have high aggressive expansion, you generally will have some war exhaustion as well. Now, there are some circumstances where this is not the case. You might have acquired provinces through other means, either by bribing a governor or something else. or you've had a unlucky streak and you seem to have gotten very, very low stability through a couple of monarch deaths, etc, etc. Regardless, in any case, one of the easy ways to actually get some war exhaustion is simply by raising a levy. Anytime you raise a levy, you will get a bit of war exhaustion, and as long as you have some war exhaustion, you can spam this button till your heart's content. So as we can see, we're now up to 90 tyranny, and as mentioned, you do get some negative stuff here in that you have a threshold for civil war that's been lowered, and you also have loyalty of characters. But as long as you're mentioning that part, you do also get 45% additional national slave output, so more money for everyone. And you also have aggressive expansion change minus 0.36 there, as you can see, which at the moment is the vast majority of our aggressive expansion decay, so all good stuff. Alright, so the next thing I thought we'd talk about a bit is Migratory Tribes. Now, Migratory Tribes have some unique mechanics associated with them. The main one, which is the migratory unit stacks that you can raise here. So what we're going to do is raise a few of those ones, and then I'm going to show some interesting things you can do with them if you want to play as a migratory tribe. So normally you'd want to shuffle around people, because when you do raise a migration unit here, it will take up to 20 here, but the stability cost will be the same regardless of how many people you're actually raising. So, but we're not going to bother with that. We'll just find a couple of the high pop ones, like this one here. 6, 5, sure you'll do. Any more? That's 4. Do we have any more with 5? Okay, 5 there. And oops. Okay. Yeah, I guess you'll do. That'll be fine. And we'll grab you as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take these juicy stacks. I mean, we might as well grab another one while we're at it. And move them down to one of our unsuspecting victims. So I will be back shortly. Alright, so we have moved all of our migratory stacks down here. I forgot to mention it, but if you have played as a migratory tribe, basically the migratory units here can move through anything. You don't need access or anything like that. But that's not the point here. What I thought we'd talk about is the fact that we would like to settle this province here, because we have come all the way from up north. We want a beautiful Italian climate here, but look, we do not have diplomatic range to them. So we can't fabricate, we can't declare war, we can't do anything. Fear not. What we can do with these juicy units is to pillage. Pillage loses 50 opinion every time you do it. So we do it once. And oh my god, they hate us. We do it once more. Oh my god, they hate us even more. Now they have less than, I believe it's 100 opinion. They're minus 100 at the moment. And if we were to pillage again, guess what would happen? Boom. We're at war with them. Glorious. Now, it doesn't matter, you don't need to pillage 3 times. If they are within diplomatic range, you can insult them if they don't have enough cities for you to pillage, etc, or any other way that you can actually get the opinion down. As soon as you pillage and they already have minus 100 opinion, you will be at war with them. So gloriously, we can now fight them, take all the land, and live long and prosper. So, as you've seen, migratory stacks are pretty powerful. You can basically move them wherever you want. Well, you can move them wherever you want. And you can also start a war with pretty much whoever you want. If they only are of single province minor, it's a bit tricky to get the war going, but you can usually find some way, but at least getting within diplomatic range and sort that out. Now, the thing is that they are a bit of a glass cannon unit though. Essentially, whenever you lose any troops from these ones, whether through combat or through assault or anything like that, they will only reinforce up to the nearest 500. So say we went to a battle here, we lost, I don't know, 2,000 troops, so we're down to 3,000. Basically, we'd lose the additional units. I can show you quickly here. So if we move into this one here, you can see we have 5,000, 10 cohorts in total. We need to assign a commander, otherwise we can't assault. I'll slow down so we don't miss it here. We'll go for an assault. Okay, good, good. That's all fun and games. Right. So we can see here now, we have 10 stacks. 3.7 though, which means that the maximum number, or we're sort of on the brisk of 8 stacks. So as soon as the month ticks over, we're going to lose 2 stacks here. Oh, we only lost 1 for some reason. That's a bit odd. Possibly because it was reinforcing at the same time, so we got over the threshold there. But as you can see, we're lost anyway. Now the thing you can do to circumvent that is to simply split them up into individual stacks. So we'll do that again. I'm just going to reload the save. And whoops, we'll go straight back here. We'll march you lot over. And then we are going to that should be all of them, I believe. Yes. So now we just need to assign a commander to one of these ones. We can assault and should slow down a bit. There we go. Now, because they're all individual stacks rather than one unit, they can't actually delete any of the additional ones. So all of these ones now come the next monthly tick. If they were 1, we'd probably lose, you know, at least 1 stack here. But because they're all individual, we just keep them. And they're all reinforcing as well. So it's all good. Now, if we were to merge them together, again, as soon as we hit the next monthly tick, we lose a stack. So, in short, try to keep them separate. You can, even though it's a bit finicky, select one as your main stack, so we'll take the one with the commander. There we go. Allow attach, and then just, you know, individually attach each of them. And that way they won't get separated by accident or anything like that. It's a bit finicky, you don't usually need to do it, but what you do want to do is to keep them as individual stacks regardless. And the final thing I thought I'd mention regarding migratory stacks is that obviously I'm sure you know that you cannot settle whatever unoccupied territory there is. You just need enough stacks to match however population there is, so we need 4 to settle this one, etc. Now the thing which isn't completely clear is that you can also settle occupied provinces of someone else. So in this case here, we do still need to match here, so we have 13 people here. We have 15 stacks here because I was faffing around a bit. But as we can see here, we can settle 13 here as long as we occupy it first. So there we go. Could be useful in some cases, means you don't need to worry about traveling across multiple islands to beat up their armies. You can simply take over the land like this instead, which makes for some interesting things you can do. Okay, so the next thing I thought we'd talk a bit about are vassals, and in particular feudatories. Now, feudatories are a special kind of vassal. They are more or less the same as a client state in that they'll join you in wars, they'll defend you, etc, etc. The difference is that they do not take up a diplomatic slot. So you can have as many as you like. They are simply amazing in the early to mid game to actually get some real power, because if you have 20 feudatories, you can take on someone much bigger in size simply because you'll have a swarm of tiny little derps attacking them. So they are great. Now, getting feudatories, this is also why you have Antigonid in the beginning. You have Carthage also has a bunch of feudatories, and Thrace have a bunch of feudatories as well, which means that despite the sheer sort of inefficiency of Thrace itself, because they have all of these feudatories, they are actually quite powerful. Now, feudatories can be obtained in either by, you know, forcing them to become your feudatory through a war or through diplomatic means. Now, the difference is between a feudatory and a client state is that feudatories can only be created from people within your culture group. So if we have a look at this guy, for instance, who is an Anatolian, we will have no option to... It's not even here at all. Oh yeah, here. Demand tribal vassal status, demand tribute, because they are Anatolian and we are Macedonian. So Macedonian is part of the Hellenistic culture group. So instead, if we have a look at these guys here, we can see that we have the option to offer a feudatory. We also have the option to offer a client status, which is a far, far inferior version. Now, if they wouldn't be your culture group and you win against them in a war and you want some additional vassals, by all means, go for client states, but feudatories is where it's at. But remember, they do need to be in your culture group for it to be possible. And the final thing I thought I'd mention is how you can save on some political influence when it comes to making your territories more loyal. As you go forth and conquer new provinces all over the world, eventually you're probably going to run into an issue where they start becoming disloyal. Now, you can deal with rebellions. I prefer not to. And one of the ways to not have to deal with rebellions is essentially to change over to... Oops, not you. Change the policy over to harsh treatment. Thing is that changing this manually over to harsh treatment every time, as you can see, oops, is costing us 450. So we'd rather not pay that every single time. Now, there is a way you can get around having to pay this one, particularly, which can add up quite quickly. And the thing to do is that whenever you change governor, they will select what they think is the most appropriate policy for the province. And if the province is disloyal, they will change it to harsh treatment. So I can demonstrate quickly. We're just going to move the capital around a couple of times to make sure they are suitably pissed. There we go. Now they're very unhappy here. We change the governor, which doesn't cost anything. I mean, it will piss off this guy, but we don't really care about that. And voila, the new person has changed the policy, and we didn't have to pay any political influence for it whatsoever.